Mackenzie.
Thank you very much, Mr Acting Deputy President. And I, like everybody in this debate, support 100% the right of every Australian child to be educated in an excellent school. And for the million children who are educated outside of capital cities in this country, 660,000 of them, the majority of them, are at state schools, and they are located right around regional Australia. So my communities, my party and indeed my own family is invested in ensuring that there is excellence in state education right across this country. Indeed, my own experience as a university lecturer within the education system saw me the privilege of training so many of the young teachers who were going to head out into state schools. And indeed, my own experience as a school teacher, I've never, just want to confess, Mr Acting Deputy President, I've never taught at a grammar school. I only taught at state schools because I believe that every child should have access to excellence in education. But so our government is indeed the best friend that the state system has ever had. We've had record funding across state school systems, but we've done more than that. We haven't just thrown money, because we know that just throwing money won't make a difference, won't stop the decline in standards that's occurring just by filling up the buckets of money. It's how we target it. It's also different policy settings, whether it's the national curriculum, whether it's the minister's TMAG initiatives, which are actually going to ensure that there are quality teachers in our state schools, quality teaching occurring within our state schools. Because if you want to actually ensure that every child has the best chance to succeed and the best chance for quality outcomes, it's to make sure the one thing we can control as government. We can't control the type of family they grow up in. We can't control where they grow up in. But what we can control is the quality of the teaching they receive, not only in the Catholic schools and the independent schools, who have so much more freedom, so much more autonomy on how they staff their schools than state school systems do. But what we can do as a Commonwealth Government is ensure that every teacher that is graduating from our universities, that our public purse is subsidising significantly their tertiary education, that every teacher that is in front of an Australian child, whether in the state school system or the Catholic or independent schools, is of high quality, because that is the thing we know will make the biggest difference. But it's only the ALP and the Greens who will actually come in here and attack the fact that there's a range of ideas and options out there, that there's not a one-size-fits-all policy solution to this very complex and vexed issue of how we actually have a sustainable federation. And we saw their approach to a tax review. We'll have a tax review, but we'll keep the most contentious parts of our tax system out of that public conversation, And so when you see the Henry tax paper, it actually neglected to actually deal with the complexities of the tax system as a whole. We're not afraid of ideas. We're not afraid of options. Just because they're on the table doesn't mean they're up for they're going to be taken up. But to actually restrict the public debate before you've even started to have it really says more about you than it does about us. We respect diversity and we respect choice. So we welcome the initiative. We welcome we welcome and support an incredible, excellent public education system. What we also want to do is give freedom to our principals to hire and fire, to ensure that those quality teachers are actually in front of the classrooms. We want to ensure that public schools have the independence and autonomy that Catholic and private schools enjoy. And I think if you want to talk about excellence in public schools, we really need to look no further than my home state of Victoria, where you see, for instance, Balwyn High School, a fantastic public school, where house prices just within that catchment area have increased $250,000. So the assumption that if you are a wealthy person, you're going to head off to grammar and pay upwards of $25,000 a year per child to have an education, why would you do that? Why can't you there's a lot of parents in Victoria who are choosing to send their children to excellent public schools, and I applaud them for that, and they're prepared to pay the price for that. Look at McRobb, high-performing school, public school in Victoria. Melbourne High, Nossal High. Excellence in public education is something that we should all be championing, and I thank the Minister for his strong support of state school systems. We've heard today about issues around needs-based funding models, and even Senator Gallagher said, "Oh, we don't have the Gonski model." The reality is we never had Gonski. We never had the model envisaged by Gonski, because the political reality, the political mettle of the leadership of the Labor Party at that time saw us end up with 27 different agreements around what constituted a needs-based funding model when it came to public education in this country. And so for those on the other side to somehow once again try and steal the rhetoric, try and steal the public debate and conversation and somehow reframe reality now is absolutely abhorrent. We never had it. It was 27 funding agreements because people would rather play politics with public education. Politics, Senator Wright. Sorry, through you, Mr Acting Deputy President, Senator Wright. Rather than actually focus on what is best for students, what is best for schools, the Labor Party, in partnership, hand in glove with the Greens, went to the last election desperate for the deals with the states and ended up making promises they could never keep, that no school would miss out, that no student would miss out. When you put parameters on this sort of needs-based funding model, I'm sorry, it's absolutely unachievable. And what we saw was an absolute dog's breakfast. Dog's breakfast. What this government has done, we've come to power and we've actually given more money to Queensland, to WA, that you ripped out of those schools, that you were not going to provide to those schools in desperate need in those states. So I find it a bit rich at this end of the debate. But in terms of how we move forward, when we all spruik how wonderful the Finnish system is, and indeed it has a lot of good things going for it. What we need to get serious about in this place is to stop being political with school funding and partisan with school funding and have a bipartisan approach which actually puts students and teachers and school communities and parents at the forefront of any policy discussion. The reality is the Commonwealth Government provides about 15.6% of the funding for state schools. So, Senator Wright, you might actually be in the wrong place. If you care so much, run for state parliament, get the balance of power and make all your dreams come true.
Thank you, Senator McKenzie. Senator Lionhelm.